Okay, so how much should I have in savings before I consider investing in things like bonds, shares, and property? It was a question that Tom asked me during the week, and I'm going to answer it for you in this video. Okay, so how much should we have set aside in savings before we start looking at investing? Now, it's really important that I start by telling you, having had 15 years of experience as a stockbroker and financial advisor, important for me to tell you that you should not invest unless you've got a 5 to 7 year time frame. So yes, that means that if you're going to start putting money into these sorts of investments, you basically need to kiss it goodbye for at least 5 to 7 years. And unless you can do that, you shouldn't be investing. So that's the first thing you need to consider. But in terms of how much savings we need, there's basically 4 things you need to consider. Firstly, if you're going to invest money, you need to make sure that your income is consistently greater than your expenses so that you are still saving money, and therefore you're not going to find yourself in a situation where you need to access those funds you've just invested. So income needs to be greater than expenses so that you have consistent savings so that you can continue to build up your savings pool. The second thing you need to do is you need to have enough money sitting in your central working account to know that as all your expenses turn up, you have the money sitting there to pay your annual bills, your quarterly bills, and so on, again, without needing to go to your savings or your investments to pull those funds back out. So with my clients, when I'm working with them, we set up a budget. We know exactly how much they need to have in their central working account so that when their expenses turn up, assuming they're continuing to put 1/12 of all their money aside each month, when those expenses turn up, they will have the cash sitting there to pay their day-to-day expenses. The third thing that you need to have is you need to have a cash reserve in place. Okay, cash reserve is super important. If you are renting, that cash reserve should be 10 grand. So this is before you start putting money into savings. You need to have a 10 grand cash reserve because life happens. Car accidents, job losses, medical expenses, they all happen, and you need to have a reserve over and above your day-to-day expenses that is sitting there ready to cover those unexpected things. So again, you're not forced to then go sell your investments at a time when they're at a low or we're going through the next financial crisis. You can just let them run through the ups and downs. So you need to have a cash reserve if you're renting of at least 10 grand. If you own a home, this should be 20 grand. You should have 20 grand in savings because when things go wrong with a house, the roof leaks, the plumbing's not working, the electricity box blows up, you need to have money, and often it's a lot of money. So a 20 grand cash reserve if you own a home. So there's 3 things there. Income needs to be greater than expenses consistently so that you know you've got more savings coming. Secondly, you should have a central account with all the money sitting there ready to pay future expenses. Of course, you've got 1/12 going towards each expense from your income each month, but you just need to make sure you've got enough in your central account. Third thing is you need to make sure you've got a cash reserve. And the last thing is you need to try and anticipate big expenses that are going to come up in the next 2 to 3 years. So think about it, is little Johnny going to need braces at some point? There's 5 to 8 grand gone, pretty much immediately. Are you going to need to replace the car anytime soon? Are you expecting to start a family and therefore mat leave is on the horizon? Just project forward 3 years to know how much are we going to need for those things, and then add that to your list of savings. So there you go, 4 things you need to consider, 4 lots of savings you need to consider before you start investing. And remember, 5 to 7 year time frame.
Now, if you are interested in saving money, if you're interested in spending less, if you're interested in breaking the paycheck cycle or paying off debt or achieving lifestyle goals that are really important to you, can I encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel? Every Tuesday and Thursday, we will release videos about managing your personal finances. So please, subscribe below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.